Hi Leo, Sun, Moon and Rising signs, welcome. This is your 2026 August forecast. If you don't have any Leo placements, you feel called to watch this reading, then you're more than welcome to still stay and watch. There's probably a message in this video that you're meant to hear. I'm going to start with a very quick overview of what's happening astrologically in August, and then we'll move into the tarot questions, just to see how these energies may be affecting you personally. As always, please remember this is a collective reading, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Let's get straight into it. Alright, Leo, this is a very significant month for you personally because so much of the energy is centered around your identity, your confidence, and the direction you are moving in next. Jupiter is now traveling through Leo, beginning a much larger cycle of growth, visibility, and expansion for you. You may feel more motivated to put yourself out there, take up space, or finally pursue something that feels bigger than what you have allowed yourself to have in the past. But this isn't necessarily about becoming louder or proving yourself to anyone. It's about becoming more comfortable with who you are and allowing yourself to grow beyond the version of you that other people have become accustomed to. This becomes especially important around the solar eclipse in Leo on August 12th. This eclipse can mark the beginning of a completely new personal chapter. For some of you, this may involve your appearance, your confidence, your work, your creative direction, or simply the way you want to be seen moving forward. You may realize that an old version of you no longer fits, and because the South Node is also moving through Leo, there may be something connected to your former identity that you're being asked to release. This could be the need for approval, the pressure to always appear strong, or the feeling that you have to perform a certain role in order to be accepted. Relationships may also play an important part in this. Pluto is moving through Aquarius, opposite Leo, so certain people may act as mirrors, showing you where you have been giving away your power, shrinking yourself, or allowing relationships to define who you are. Mercury moves into Leo shortly before the eclipse, helping you find your voice again. Important conversations, ideas, or announcements may begin to emerge, and you may feel more confident expressing what you actually think and what you want. Just be mindful around the middle of the month because conversations could become quite intense. Try not to get pulled into power struggles or feel as though you have to defend every decision you make. Mars also moves into Cancer, which can make your energy much more private behind the scenes. You may need more rest, quiet, or time away from other people than usual. Hidden frustration could also surface, so pay attention to what your body and intuition are trying to tell you. You're entering a more visible chapter, but that does not mean you need to be available to everybody. Towards the end of August, the energy begins shifting towards your money, self-worth, and personal stability. You may start thinking more seriously about what your time and abilities are worth, as well as how you make this new direction sustainable. Then on August 28th, we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces. This may bring an emotional, financial, or energetic attachment to the surface so it can finally be released. For some of you, this could involve shared money, debt, intimacy, trust, or the emotional weight you've been carrying for another person. So the main message for Leo throughout August is that you're stepping into a new version of yourself, but you cannot bring every old identity, relationship dynamic, or emotional attachment into this next chapter with you. This is a month of personal rebirth, increased invisibility, and learning that you no longer need permission to become the person you know you are ready to be. So let's move into the tarot and begin by asking, what version of themselves is Leo leaving behind? Okay, Leo, this feels like you're leaving behind a version of yourself that has always felt as though you needed to react quickly, defend yourself, or immediately prove your side of the story. The Knight of Swords can be very fast-moving energy. It sees a problem and wants to address it immediately. It wants answers, clarity, and resolution, but sometimes it moves before it has had enough time to process what it is actually feeling. With justice beside it, I feel that a lot of you have been very focused on what is fair, what is right, and whether other people are treating you the way that you deserve. You may have spent a long time trying to correct certain situations, explain your intentions, or get other people to recognize the truth. and there's nothing wrong with wanting fairness. But you may be leaving behind the version of yourself that feels responsible for making everybody understand you. Not everyone is going to see the situation from your perspective. And August may be teaching you that you do not need their agreement in order to know what is true for you. The star tells me this version of you has also remained incredibly hopeful. Even after disappointment, you've continued believing that certain people or situations could improve. You may have held onto the potential of something because you could see what it could become, even when the reality was showing you something very different. And then we have the Tower, so there may be an old identity here that was built through survival. You may have become the person who stays prepared for things to go wrong, the person who picks everything back up after a crisis, or the person who remains strong while everything around you is falling apart. But that's not necessarily who you are meant to remain. You're not losing your strength, your honesty, or your hope. You're releasing the belief that you always need to be fighting, fixing, or recovering from something in order to prove how strong you are. The Tower can suggest that this old version of you is not going to disappear quietly. There may be a moment in August where something challenges you the way you previously saw yourself. A truth could come out, a plan could suddenly change, or you could realize that something you were working towards no longer reflects the person you are becoming. But this does not feel like destruction for the sake of destruction. It feels like an old structure is being cleared because it can no longer contain the next version of you. The star comes before the Tower, which is interesting because it suggests you may already have a vision of the life you want, but something outdated has to fall away before you can fully move towards it. So the version of yourself you're leaving behind is the version that rushes to defend itself, waits for external validation, and continues holding unstable situations together through sheer hope and determination. You're learning that sometimes the most powerful response is not to fight harder. It's to recognize when something has shown you exactly what it is and allow it to fall away. Now we're going to ask, what is the Leo Solar Eclipse beginning for you? Alright, this feels like the beginning of a major truth being revealed, particularly around something that has been keeping you stuck, attached, or feeling as though you don't have a choice. The Devil can represent unhealthy patterns, fear, control, obsession, or a situation that has held more power over you than it should have. For some of you, this could be a relationship, a habit, a mindset, or even the pressure to keep proving yourself to other people. But the Ace of Swords is cutting directly through that energy. There is clarity coming in. You may suddenly see a situation for exactly what it is, without making excuses for it or allowing yourself to be distracted by what you hoped it could become. Once you see this truth, it may be very difficult to ignore it. This eclipse could begin a chapter where you start speaking more honestly, making firmer decisions, and removing yourself from anything that relies on fear, guilt, or control to keep you attached. The Devil can sometimes make us believe that the chains are permanent, and the Ace of Swords reminds you that awareness gives you power. You may realize that you've had more control over this situation than you previously believed. So this does feel like freedom, but it begins with honesty. Not only honesty from other people, but honesty with yourself about what you have outgrown, what has become unhealthy, and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. The Leo Solar Eclipse is beginning a period of mental clarity, stronger boundaries, and reclaiming your personal power. You're no longer allowing fear or attachment to make your decisions for you. Next, we're going to ask, what is Jupiter in Leo expanding for you? This feels like Jupiter is expanding your ability to move forward. The Wheel of Fortune brings change, movement, and a shift in circumstances. Something that has felt stagnant may finally begin to turn. But the Eight of Cups shows that part of this growth requires you to willingly leave something behind. For some of you, this may be a situation you have already emotionally outgrown. You may have remained because it was familiar, because you had invested so much into it, or because you were waiting for it to become what you hoped it would be. But Jupiter is showing you that there is more available to you than what you have been settling for. The Eight of Cups is not always an easy departure. It can mean walking away while there are still feelings involved, but also recognizing that feelings alone are not enough reason to stay somewhere that is no longer fulfilling you. I'm starting to stumble over my words now. The Wheel suggests that once you make that choice, things may begin changing quite quickly. New opportunities, people or experiences could enter because you have finally created space for them. This may also be about trusting the timing of your life. What appears to be an ending could actually be the turning point that places you on a much more aligned path. So Jupiter is expanding your courage to choose growth over familiarity. You're learning that moving on is not always a loss. Sometimes it's the decision that finally allows your life to move again. Next, we're going to ask, what relationship truth does Leo need to see? Okay, the truth here is that attraction, confidence, and strong feelings are not enough on their own. The King of Wands can represent someone who's very magnetic, passionate, and certain about what they want, but they can also be quite focused on doing things their own way. And the Ace of Swords has now appeared again, so clarity is becoming a major theme throughout your reading. There may need to be a very honest conversation about where this relationship is going, what each person actually wants, and whether both people are willing to put in the same amount of effort. The Three of Pentacles is mutual work. It's two people showing up, communicating, and building something together. Not one person carrying the connection while the other simply enjoys the attention or chemistry. For some of you, the relationship truth may be that this person is interested, but they now need to prove that through consistent action. For others, you may be realizing that you cannot keep waiting for someone to meet you halfway when they have repeatedly shown you that they want everything on their own terms. So the message is not to ignore the attraction or the connection. It's to ask whether there is genuine cooperation behind it. A relationship can have passion, but if there's no honesty, teamwork, or shared direction, it may struggle to become anything stable. Next, we're going to look at what is happening beneath the surface or behind the scenes for Leo. This feels like there may be an imbalance happening that you're only just beginning to recognize. The Five of Swords can point to tension, unspoken resentment, or a situation where someone is more focused on being right than creating a fair outcome. And with the Six of Pentacles, this may be connected to who is giving more, who has the power, or whether support is being shared equally. For some of you, someone may be taking more from the connection than they are willing to return. They could be accepting your time, energy, or emotional support while still keeping the situation on their terms. For others, this may be your own frustration building beneath the surface because you are tired of being the person who constantly compromises or keeps the peace. You may not have fully expressed how unfair something has started to feel. The Five of Swords can also show that not every disagreement needs to be won, but the Six of Pentacles reminds you that fairness still matters. You should not have to keep overgiving just to avoid conflict or maintain a connection. So behind the scenes, an unequal dynamic may be becoming more obvious. August may bring a decision around whether this situation can be rebalanced or whether continuing to participate in it is costing you too much. Now we're going to ask, what is the Pisces eclipse asking Leo to release? Okay, this feels like you're being asked to release the pressure to always be the strong one. The Queen of Wands is confident, capable, and naturally powerful, but beside the Ten of Wands, that strength may have turned into carrying far more than you should. You may have become accustomed to managing everything, supporting everyone, or continuing to push forward even when you're exhausted. And because other people see you as capable, they may not always realize how much weight you're actually carrying. For some of you, this is also about releasing the belief that you have to appear confident all the time. You're allowed to admit when something is too much. You're allowed to ask for support, change your mind, or step away from responsibilities that were never yours to carry alone. This eclipse is not asking you to lose your confidence or your independence. It's asking you to stop proving your strength through exhaustion. The Queen of Wands is still powerful when she rests, sets boundaries, and chooses where her energy is actually deserved. So Leo, you may be releasing an identity built around always being available, always holding everything together, or believing your value comes from how much you can handle. Now we're going to ask, what can become stable for Leo after August? This feels like a completely new beginning, becoming much more emotionally secure than what you have experienced before. The Fool shows you stepping into something unfamiliar, but the Magician says you're not entering this chapter powerless. You have the skills, the experience, and the ability to create something very different for yourself now. For some of you, this could be a new relationship, creative direction, career path, or simply a new way of approaching your life. And the Queen of Cups suggests that what becomes stable is your connection to your own intuition and emotional needs. You may stop second guessing what you feel or abandoning yourself to keep other people comfortable. The Fool and the Magician together are very strong manifestation energy, but this is not about forcing an outcome. It's about trusting yourself enough to take the first step while allowing your intuition to guide you what you create next. So after August, you may feel more emotionally grounded within a new beginning. You're no longer waiting for certainty before you move forward. You're becoming confident that you can handle whatever unfolds. And now we're going to dive into what's the overall advice for Leo as they navigate August. Alright, you got let go, lighten your load. And Leo, this perfectly reflects the 10 of Wands that appeared earlier. August is not asking you to prove how much you can carry. It's asking you to recognize what has become too heavy, what no longer belongs to you, and what you may be holding on to simply because you have carried it for such a long time. This could be a responsibility, a relationship, an expectation, or even an old version of yourself that you feel obligated to maintain. But letting go does not mean that you have failed. Sometimes it means you have finally accepted that something has completed its purpose in your life. The Fool and the Magician showed that a new beginning is available to you, but you need space in your life to receive it. You cannot fully step into this new chapter while continuing to drag every old burden behind you. So pay attention to what drains your energy throughout August. Where are you overcommitting? Where are you taking responsibility for other people's emotions or choices? And where could life become much lighter if you simply allowed yourself to put something down? Your strength is not measured by how much you can endure. It is also found in knowing when to release, when to rest, and when to choose yourself. So Leo, August is bringing a powerful personal reset. You are gaining clarity, breaking away from unhealthy attachments, and moving towards a new version of yourself. But the message is very clear. Let go of what is weighing you down, because you're going to need your energy for everything that is beginning next. That's everything I have for you, Leo. As always, take what resonates and leave anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next reading.